Magic in general. Shiels, quite the accomplished player. He's got a little bit less done on his resume than Mr. Duke, but Dave Shiels is no slouch as we are underway here with an Underground Sea into a Deathrite Shaman. Duke with a Volcanic Island, and he's going to pass it back.
Well, you know, to be fair to Dave, most people have a worse resume than Reid Duke.
That is true. You know, the funny thing about Dave Shiels is, you know, when you take a look at some players, they are the perennial top 16 finisher in Grand Prix, in Pro Tours, that sort of thing. That's where Dave ends up quite a bit. You're not going to recognize his name as much as you are going to recognize Reid's, is because he's always on the outside looking in, which is unfortunate for him. Take a look at Grand Prix Portland, for example. Outside looking in, 9th place on tiebreakers. Joe Demestrio is the person who got 8th in that tournament. So we're going to see an Inquisition of Kozilek here. Duke is going to cast a Brainstorm response, going to make this Inquisition a little bit worse.
Yep, now putting 3 cards in his hand, putting 2 cards back. Whatever 2 cards he puts back, protected from Dave's discard. One of the things you can look at Dave's record there, 9-2-1. His record might have been 9-1-2, but that he actually conceded a match after the 5th turn of extra turns were over, because he said, you know what, you played that so well, I would rather you have a win and me have a loss than us both have a draw.
Yeah, playing against Thomas and Enevoldson on the last round of day 1, where Enevoldson top-decked a Flicker Wisp to take care of Dave's Batter Skull, and given enough time, after, because that was post-Cataclysm, and Enevoldson would have probably most likely ended up winning that game. So Dave Shiels, realizing that a draw is about as good as a loss here, gives Enevoldson the win. Shiels takes the loss, but he's doing perfectly fine here. You see him sitting at 9-2-1 as Duke is going to resolve a Brainstorm. Shiels has a sheet of paper at the ready, and let's take a look.
Yep, and we see Daze, Force of Will, Natural Order, Green Sun Zenith, Noble Hierarch, and a Paralands.
Now the big question here, if you're Shiels, if you're us in the booth, and if you're at home, is what did Reid Duke hide?
Right. I mean, when you see a Natural Order in someone's hand like that, Natural Order is such a powerhouse of a card that for Reid Duke to offer it up as a possible thing to sacrifice, you know, you can't actually, that's not a Thoughtseize, that's an Inquisition, so it can't hit the Natural Order, my bad. What did he hide, though? That is a very good question. With Reid Duke's list, there's lots of good cards. Tarmogoyf, Vendilion Click, Lightning Bolt, not so exciting here, but still solid. Sylvan Library, there's lots of great targets. He takes the Daze.
So Shiels is going to take the Daze here. But also what that's going to do as well is it's going to take a blue card away from Reid to be able to actually cast Force of Will. So Shiels is going to sacrifice his fetch land. He's going to go a Searchin', get a land out of his deck. Also does have access to a Deathrite Shaman activation as well. So the potential for 2 mana here. This is going to search up a Tundra.
I mean, the scariest card that he could probably produce would be a Dark Confidant.
You say that as though it's not all that scary, but it is.
It's pretty scary.
Yes.
I'm not trying to sound like that's not scary. I mean that's the scariest card he could produce.
And it is going to be Bob, the original Bob.
That's right.
He's going to come out to play.
I call him Boss. Hey, Boss. Now on the right side of the table, Reid Duke over there, we will maybe have an opportunity. Is it a Tarmogoyf? The Green Sun Zenith we already knew about. Green Suns for 1 produces a Noble Hierarch. When Reid Duke picks up his hand again, we might be able to see what it was that he hid. Now, Dave Shiels has 3 Thoughtseize and 2 Inquisition of Kozilek in his deck, so a good 5 cards to be able to disrupt Reid Duke with. This time, last turn, it was an Inquisition, but will he have more disruption for Reid this coming turn?
You see, Shiels turns over a land for the Dark Confidant, draws a Swords of Plowshares for his draw step. You see a Preordain in his hand as well. Now, if you've never seen Dave Shiels play before, that draw for him is not all that surprising. He is very deliberate in his plays, always crafting a game plan, taking a lot of time to do so within the rules, of course, but it can lead to draws for him. So he's going to have to get things crafted a little bit earlier because he cannot afford another draw in this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things about deliberate play is it does mean that you're less apt to make mistakes, but sometimes a win becomes a draw.
Yep. So he's going to start his turn by attacking with Dark Confidant. Bob Maher is going to get in the red zone. Duke going to move down to 18. Again, Dave working with some pretty good information on what is in Reid's hand due to that Inquisition of Kozilek.
Now, it's called Bob as a nickname because it's pictured is representing Bob Maher, the Invitational winner from the Magic Invitational who designed that card. This weekend here at the Star City Games Open Series featuring the Invitational, we will make the winner of this event be able to choose a token, much like the other tokens that you've seen already from the Star City Games. So if it was you, let us know at SCG Live, hashtag SCGINVI. If you want an Invitational, what kind of token would you want to be? You're already a token, Cedric. So
I am a goblin.
I think that you talked me in earlier into wanting to be a 1/1 elemental.
Yes, the young pyromancer himself.
That's right.
So you see Shiels is going to search out a scrubland there with a fetch land. See what he wants to do on this turn. You see a Vendilion Click in his hand as well right now. So maybe he wants to get into Reid's draw step, get some more information, maybe stop him from casting that natural order. Also has the Swords to Plowshares. He could just ping that Noble Hierarch, but he's just going to pass the turn back.
Now remember, natural order was in Reid's hand. We see the Vendilion Click. Let's pretend that Reid has a blue card. It is certainly possible he could Force of Will here, lay a land, and natural order.
Absolutely. You see Reid kind of put his hand through his hair when that Vendilion Click was placed on the stack inside of his draw step. So now is he going to respond? How much does he care? Is he going to Force of Will removing a blue card if he's drawn one over the past 2 turns? That's the question. Shiels really putting Duke to the test here early and often.
Let's see what we're going to have. Is it going to be a Vendilion Click resolving? Force of Will tossing a Vendilion Click.
All right, so no Vendilion Click for you, Mr. Shiels, says Duke, assuming that Shiels is not going to fight over this with a Daze or a Force of Will or whatever counter magic he does have access to.
How will this turn end?
See, Shiels is going to activate Deathrite Shaman, going to remove that Marshlands for a white mana, going to Swords to Plowshares, that Noble Hierarch, cutting Duke off of some mana, but additionally making it so that he cannot natural order this turn. Yep. He does not have a green creature. Duke going to add some mana in response to that Swords to Plowshares. There goes the Vendilion Click, and that goes to the graveyard. Does he have anything to do with that mana? He does not.
And Noble Hierarch. Now, it's a small thing, but the Swords to Plowshares probably should be on top. It does matter in this format. Dark Confidant, Vendilion Click is revealed, 3 damage to Dave Shiels from Bob Maher, the Dark Confidant. A quick note from Twitter, Tarmogoyf, at Tarmogoyf, says he would like to be a Storm counter if he could be a token.
Okay.
I like that one.
That's actually one of the better ones I've heard here. You saw the Dark Confidant reveal. You see a Thragtusk here in Shiels' hand. Or excuse me, a Thoughtseize. We're not in the Thragtusk format. It's easy to get confused. I've seen so many of them over the course of this weekend.
As soon as you said Thragtusk, I knew you meant Thoughtseize. Yeah. We've had a lot of rounds of Magic. This is our 13th round of this event. Right now, the 3rd round of the almost 1,000-person Standard Open is underway as well.
So again, how is Shiels going to plan out this turn? Again, he does have a Preordain in his hand as well, so he could start there, but we're going to start with the Thoughtseize. And Shiels is valuing getting information quite a bit. There goes Natural Order. Duke left with just a Volcanic Island in his hand. Shiels going to pay the 2 life to be able to do that, but now you know exactly what Reid is working with. He has a land. That is it.
One of the things that we look at this Dark Confidant and Deathrite Shaman combo, they have done a lot of wonders. Deathrite Shaman being, in effect, maybe the best Bird of Paradise possible, yep. A black Bird of Paradise. Yep. And the Dark Confidant has supplied so much gas. I mean, at this point it's been in play, I believe, for 3 turns. It might only be 2 draws, but either way, I believe that those extra cards, that Thoughtseize would not have even been able to be cast if there had not been a Dark Confidant in play, digging ever deeper.
You see Shiels is going to leave up some mana yet again here. You know, see Duke's going to sacrifice that fetch land. Going to go get a Dryad Arbor to block the Dark Confidant. So he gets to ambush that with a land.
I mean, that is a happy trade. You don't want to be stunting your mana, but you'd rather stunt your mana than have a Bob running rampant.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And you can even argue that Bob's already done his damage this game with 2 extra cards given to Shiels. But Shiels does have Vendilion Click yet again. We're going to go to the draw step. And how about once again a Vendilion Click?
You got anything? Or do you have anything that matters? Yeah, oh, look at that. Look, there was a heavy sigh from Reid Duke.
You know, Duke was drawing 2 natural order yet again. Looks like there's a little bit of frustration. Taking a look at the graveyard now. Again. A bit of a smirk with another Vendilion Click, Dave. Come on, man.
I bet you it's land, and we saw, what, a volcanic?
We know there's a volcanic there. We don't know what the mystery card is.
Yeah, and a natural order would be a really, really frustrating thing to have to reveal.
See, he's reaching for mana.
Oh, maybe not.
Brainstorm, okay.
A little protection. The sad thing for Reid Duke here is if he protects the cards that are in his hand, that means that Vendilion Clique is just going to see nothing that matters, and Dave Shiels is going to say, that's fine, keep it.
Yep.
And that'll mean that Reid Duke will basically have done nothing for this turn.
Yeah. This brainstorm, very, very interesting. Very, very important part of the game here for Duke on how he wants to set this up with a Vendilion Clique trigger on the stack, targeting him. Do I show you a real card? You know, do I bluff with the card that I'm keeping Do I actually want this card that I may keep put on the bottom, or do I want you to say keep it and actually have it be of relevance? This is a big point in this game for Reid Duke because he is certainly behind the 8 ball right now.
So many choices. We see the Force of Will, Volcanic Island.
Another brainstorm there. All right, time to show the goods. There's the Volcanic.
That's
there's
a
the Force
really
of Will.
good reveal because Force of Will is not so great in this moment. Losing 2 cards to cast a counterspell, not great. But it does mean that if, for example, 2 turns down the line, he can have that Force of Will, a blue card, and a natural order, potentially.
Yep.
And it's not worth Dave to push it away and dig Reid deeper.
Dave draws his card for the turn. It's a Deathrite Shaman to go along with that preordain that he's held for the duration of this game. So let's see how he wants to start it off. It's going to be preordained. Now take a look at the top 2. Dark Confidant and Polluted Delta. What to do if you are Mr. Shiels. You know, this is where this tournament gets to be so much fun, Adrian, because we see two great players right now in Shiels and Duke playing in an incredibly important matchup to keep their top 8 dreams alive for the Invitational. Every decision matters so much right now moving forward.
And that's one of the things that I absolutely love about Legacy. A lot of people have said, Brainstorm's too good. And you know what? Maybe it's too good. But cards like Brainstorm and Preordain create choices. And the thing I keep seeing is that, generally speaking, the player who is more prepared for a match is the one that wins. And it's largely on the back of creating so many choices.
We see Shiels put both cards to the bottom. Deathrite Shaman number 2 going to join the table. He drew a Brainstorm as a mystery card off that Preordain. Duke draws Natural Order right off of the top. So that Brainstorm, where he hid 2 cards, he found a very, very good one. Now if you're Shiels, do you Brainstorm in response? Do you let Natural Order resolve? You see him running his hand through his hair. Things have just gotten incredibly difficult in a game that he was very far ahead in.
And there's nothing to Brainstorm for. His deck does not have a Spell Pierce. So all he can do is just allow a Progenitus to hit play. He does have 2 Liliana of the Veil in his main deck. And you'd like to say, but he can just race. Well, the race is a hard one. Progenitus hits very hard.
Yes.
Reid Duke currently at 12 life. A Deathrite Shaman would knock him down to 10.
Yep.
A Vendilion Clique attack down to 7. I mean, it's very, very close.
This race is very, very close. It depends on what Shiels draws. It also depends on what Duke draws. As he's going to untap, Shiels is going to draw a card. He did not Brainstorm on his end step. You see he draws a card, not quite sure what it is. Looks like it may have been a Force of Will. Going to reorganize the mana now. He's going to start his turn off with that Brainstorm.
Brainstorm, the best kind. Now, why did he wait? It was more important to him to make sure the Brainstorm was as good as possible than for him to get the mana-efficient end-of-turn Brainstorm.
And looks like Shiels, it looks like he did find a Liliana of the Veil off of this Brainstorm. You see him put back that Jace the Mind Sculptor mystery card. He's going to slam down Liliana of the Veil. That's going to take care of Progenitus, and Reid Duke is going to concede that game. So Dave Shiels wins game number 1 with Esper Deathblade over Reid Duke playing Natural Order Rug.
That was a really great game. There was something about the way the game played out that felt epic enough for me to think that was the game 3, but that was just the first game, and we've got 2 more to go. Looking at our sideboards here, one of the things that Dave Shiels has in his sideboard, 4 Force of Will. Now, there's always the interesting question of Force of Will in matchups that are grindy, because in grindy matchups, Force of Will is not so good. But what is different about Reid Duke's deck, the inclusion of 4 Natural Order means that Reid Duke has the kind of knockout punch haymaker that Dave Shiels has to consider fighting over with a card like Force of Will.
Now you also see in his sideboard those 2 Meddling Mages, 2 Relic Progenitus, 2 Flusterstorm, 2 Lingering Souls, a Sword of Feast and Famine, a Supreme Verdict, and a Diabolic Edict. I think Edict is a very easy one for him to sideboard in.
Absolutely.
I would even argue that Supreme Verdict is going to come in, as if a Natural Order does resolve an uncounterable counterspell to take care of that Progenitus. is going to be quite powerful. Sword of Feast and Famine, a different form of disruption, can search for with a Stoneforge Mystic. So he has a lot of options at his disposal.
He has a lot of options. I mean, with the exception of Relic of Progenitus, it feels to me as though there are reasonable reasons to bring in all 13 other cards. Now, I wouldn't bring in Lingering Souls. I don't expect him to bring in Lingering Souls, but I'm just saying that if you were to pick up Dave Shiels' deck list, there are a lot of choices to make about what you would want to do. One of the things about Legacy, so many choices, it's really difficult. I start here with probably 4 Force of Will. Then after that, I should actually start with Diabolic Edict.
Yeah, I think that's step one.
And then after that, go to Force of Will. And I do also like Supreme Verdict. The card Supreme Verdict not only is blue for his own Force of Wills, but importantly, as an uncounterable spell, provides an answer to a otherwise hard to answer card in Progenitus.
We'll take a look at Reid Duke's sideboard. 2 copies of Relic Progenitus, 1 Umezawa's Jitte, 2 Pyroblast, to go along with the Red Elemental Blast as well. So he does have those blue counter spells there, or to be able to take care of blue cards, excuse me. 2 Grim Lavamancer, 1 Ancient Grudge, 1 Sylvan Library, 2 Kitchen Finks, 1 Spell Pierce, 1 Jace the Mind Sculptor, and a Singleton Bonfire of the Damned. Again, you can make an argument for a lot of the cards here in Reid's sideboard. I think the easiest one to sideboard in is Spell Pierce, but I'm not entirely sure how great it is in this matchup, again, because a lot of what Shiels did in that last game was creature-oriented.
Absolutely.
We saw Deathrite Shaman, we saw Dark Confidant, we saw multiple Vendilion Clicks. Spell Pierce doesn't have anything on those.
Yeah, I mean, I think the card that... the cards that are particularly exciting to me, actually, Grim Lavamancer does a number on Dave Shiels' board. A Grim Lavamancer takes out every creature that Dave Shiels has.
Yeah.
That's exciting for me. I would definitely want Grim Lavamancer. Sylvan Library and Jace are 2 other cards that I would like to see, because you know what can happen? These 2 decks can suddenly become just a toe-to-toe slogfest of just saying to each other, you know what? I am going to do something to try to get marginal advantage over the next few turns. And then the other deck says, me too. And in fights like that, a card like Sylvan, a card like Jace, very effective.
So we'll see how Duke wants to change things up. You see Shields shuffling his deck, so they're happy with their sideboarded configurations. Again, if you guys are just joining us, Cedric Phillips, Adrian Sullivan, Starship Games Open Series featuring the Invitational. We're in New Jersey. And feel free to join us on Twitter at all times, of course. Join in on that conversation at SCG Live, hashtag SCGINVI for your tweets. Round 13 of 16, my friend. But don't forget, Standard Open after this.
Absolutely.
A lot of rounds to cover of that. We've got our Legacy Open tomorrow. We've got our Sealed Classic tomorrow. And if you're in the neighborhood, some Ascension tournaments as well. Get your likeness on one of those cards of that fantastic game designed by Stoneblade Entertainment. And we've also got to give away, I don't know, a trophy, a $10,000
very nice big check,
a $10,000 check, and a likeness on a Star City Games token this weekend. Far from over, Adrian.
Yep. These 2 players are about to begin. If you are following us on Twitter, we've got some cool tokens out there. We've got goat tokens, squirrel tokens, 4 Hellions, hippos, all kinds of stuff. If you won, what kind of token would you want to be? Tell us at SCG Live, hashtag SCGINVI, and the game begins. Reid Duke laying a very, very sad little Dryad Arbor.
Yeah.
Dryad Arbor, one of the less exciting opens for any deck that plays Dryad Arbor.
I'm a little surprised to see him lead off with that instead of what you traditionally find in Legacy, be it a fetch land or a dual land or what have you. He just starts off with the 1/1 opening itself up to Swords to Plowshares or another removal spells, but Shields just with an Underground Sea and is going to pass the turn back.
I kind of wonder if he only has 1 more land, and he played that first, hope, cross the fingers, nothing bad happens, and then follow up on turn 2 with, say, a Tarmogoyf, something like that, or a Sylvan.
Certainly within Reid's realm as well to try to bait out a Swords to Plowshares so he can resolve a more relevant creature, not have to worry about Swords to Plowshares, as Duke is going to play a Wooded Foothill, sacrifice that, get a Volcanic Island, push himself down to 19, and he's going to attempt a Tarmogoyf.
Tarmogoyf right now sitting pretty as a 1/2. You can call him Squire if you want, but he grows up big real fast.
And it looks like that's going to be good to go. Shields going to play a Brainstorm here. Going to get a little bit deeper, find some information, smooth out his draw a little bit. Maybe he's looking for more lands, but it looks like he does have them. You see a Batterskull among the cards that he looks like he's going to attempt to put back here.
Okay, this makes the Tarmogoyf a 2/3 once the Brainstorm is done resolving.
So now the big question here is, what does Shiels want to put back? How does he want to navigate the following turn and the subsequent turns afterward? What is he looking for with that Brainstorm as he draws a Polluted Delta? Again, remember, Adrian, Batterskull, the top card of his deck right now. So will a Stoneforge Mystic resolve to maybe search that up, or maybe that sort of Feast and Famine in his sideboard?
We see a Thoughtseize to start things out.
Take a look here at Grim Lavamancer, Lightning Bolt, Umezawa's Jitte, a Tropical Island and Misty Rainforest. Grim Lavamancer, a card that you said he should sideboard in for Duke, and he certainly did.
There are 2 sideboard cards there, the Grim Lavamancer and the Umezawa's Jitte.
Both very good in this matchup.
Both very, very good. Umezawa's Jitte, similarly to the Grim Lavamancer, can just take the game over. Interestingly, if you thought about last turn's Brainstorm, Dave Shiels doing what would be a Brainstorm for mana efficiency, not for, card choice efficiency. Because I think, he sees that turn 2 Tarmogoyf, and he says to himself, right now I'm in a position where what I need to do is I need to get stuff done now. I can't diddle around and hope for a better moment to cast this. I gotta do a play that I wanna make on turn 2, and probably one on turn 3, and I might not have time to cast it later and have it actually influence the game, so let's do it now.
You see Shiels, decisions for him. Do I take the equipment? Do I take that very difficult to handle Grim Lavamancer? You see in Shiels' hand, he has at least 1 Stoneforge Mystic, potentially 2. He's also staring a Deathrite Shaman right in the face. So do I take Grim Lavamancer, that reusable source of damage, or do I take Umezawa's Jitte? And even Lightning Bolt could be underneath consideration here.
I mean, there are 3 cards in there that all have reasonable reasons. Taking the Lightning Bolt, for example, would be Dave saying, I care about right now. Taking the Grim Lavamancer would be Dave saying, caring about a extended, protracted game. And taking the Umezawa's Jitte is Dave saying, I don't think I can actually get rid of a creature right now.
Yep. So a lot of implications on what Shiels decides to take here. And again, we mentioned how Shiels is deliberate in his decision-making process. Well, this one calls for a time to be deliberate, and he is going to take Lightning Bolt here of those 3 cards, arguably the weakest of those 3 cards, which is a loud announcement of, I think I can beat your later cards, but I need these cards that I have in my hand right now.
That was really amazing, actually. Like, I'm kind of wondering where he is sculpting this game. I mean, when you take a Lightning Bolt against those 2 other cards, you are making a very loud claim that this is about right now, not about tomorrow.
So, Deathrite Shaman going to come into play here for Shiels after sacrificing a Polluted Delta, searching out a Scrubland. Duke going to draw his card. How is he going to navigate things now? Because if you're Duke, you have to think about the reason that Shiels took that card. Here is Umezawa's Jitte. Now there is the Grim Lavamancer. So those 2 cards that Shiels knows about, they're both in play now. Can he beat them? As Tarmogoyf's going to come into the red zone, looking at a 3/4 due to instant, sorcery, and land.
Now, the Jitte is very interesting because there are 3 creatures in play that it can get onto. So this is just a very interesting turn.
Now Shiels, some reason he may have done what he did there is maybe, he has a Deathrite Shaman, he's got 3 mana, plays a land, casts that 1 of Supreme Verdict in his sideboard, clears everything up, looks pretty smart then, but I don't think he has that Supreme Verdict in his hand right now. You see his hand, multiple Polluted Deltas, 2 Stoneforge Mystics, a Vendilion Click, and a Brainstorm.
Let's find out. He starts with Brainstorm.
Always a good start. So 1, 2, and 3. Another Brainstorm, a Dark Confidant, another Deathrite Shaman. So not a lot of action here for Shiels, Adrian.
One of the things with the Stoneforge Mystics in his hand, he can answer the Umezawa's Jitte over the course of 2 turns. That still leaves the Grim Lavamancer as... Oh wait, he cannot answer the Umezawa's Jitte. This is a new world. M14 exists. There can be 2 Jittes.
Yeah. And this is something that Shaheen Saroni wrote about in his article this week, and saying that, the new legendary rule, yes, both players get to have a Jitte, but Jitte being used as a removal spell for another one was actually the more important part of it, because yes, both players can have Umezawa's Jitte in play, but if there's one already active, the other one's not ever going to be able to get to be turned on. So the fact that both players can have one is actually detrimental to the person that has the second one.
That is so... it's funny because I have been thinking about the way that the new rules apply to so many things. In Umezawa's Jitte, this moment was the first time I thought about it. Even though, yeah, I read that article, but I guess my mind must have been somewhere else for a second.
So things are going to be very, very difficult uphill for Mr. Shiels. And again, he had the option of taking Umezawa Jitte. He had the option of taking Grim Lavamancer, but he selected Lightning Bolt with a Thoughtseize. Now he's going to brainstorm yet again. 1, 2, and 3. You see another Stoneforge Mystic, a Thoughtseize, and a fetch land. So he's got a lot of 2 toughness creatures, but he does not have an answer for the equipment. He does not have an answer for that Grim Lavamancer, and he does not have an answer for Tarmogoyf right now. This is going to be hard.
I think that Reid Duke, especially if you look at that brainstorm really did not find him the cards he was looking for. He's in a situation right now where the Grim Lavamancer and the Umezawa's Jitte both need to be answered, and he has no answers to either of them. When you've got 2 things you need to answer, I mean, a Supreme Verdict is what he has to dig for now. A Jace the Mind Sculptor is probably going to get overwhelmed. A Liliana has 3 creatures to reckon with. Getting his own Umezawa's Jitte is not very likely in terms of getting it active. Oh boy, Dave Shiels is in some real trouble here.
So now a Stoneforge Mystic shows up to the party. He's going to get a Batterskull, and if there is one card that can get you back into a game, it is Batterskull. But even right now, it's got a lot of work to do. Does that Germ Token, does that equipment, and does that Stoneforge Mystic, as Duke is going to untap while Shiels is finishing shuffling his deck. He's going to draw a card. You see him finish off Shiels' deck, and is he going to equip? Is he going to shoot with the Lavamancer? How does he want to navigate this turn? As he is ahead right now, he does not want to let Shiels catch up.
There's so many options, and they all look really bad for Dave Shiels.
Step 1 for Duke, Misty Rainforest, going to get a land out of his deck.
We see 2 Volcanic Islands, a Tropical Island, a Dryad Arbor, Grim Lavamancer, Tarmogoyf, and Umezawa's Jitte. Now, we saw the opening of this game with a turn 1 Dryad Arbor, and we thought, oh, you know, this is kind of a rough place, but it's turning out just fine for Reid Duke.
So Duke is going to equip the Dryad Arbor. That land is feeling pretty tough. In for 4 with the Tarmogoyf. Dryad Arbor is going to make it a total of 5. 2 counters likely to be placed onto that Umezawa Jitte. Yes, sir. Going to take care of the Deathrite Shaman. So now he has cleared up Shiels' board, and it makes you wonder, Adrian, it really does. Was that Thoughtseize correct, taking Lightning Bolt?
You know, I am wondering that myself.
And make no mistake about it, while that was arguably the weakest card in his hand, if Shiels has a plan to try to beat this Grim Lavamancer with Umezawa Jitte, then his play is correct. It looks like things just did not work out the way that he maybe expected them to, because now he's in a world of trouble trying to beat this reusable damage source in Lavamancer, this completely busted, I would say the best equipment of all time in Umezawa's Jitte. This is a rough road ahead for Shiels.
I kind of wonder if he thought to himself, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this mana that I'll put down, and I've got 2 Brainstorms. I'll find the card that I need to find. But that's just not how this played out.
Yeah, and it's not a guarantee.
He's got to Vindicate as a possible way to dig out of this a little bit. The Supreme Verdict as a possible way to begin digging out. And then honestly, I think he's going to have to start doing things like throwing away Vendilion Clicks to move other cards to the bottom of his library and find new cards. Even a card like Jace. A Jace at this point is an expensive Brainstorm / Healing Salve. But with a life total that low, he's actually in danger of just dying.
Now a Stoneforge Mystic shows up to the party. You see Shiels search out Umezawa Jitte of his own, and I bet he would love to slam that down to take care of Reid's, but no can do due to the new M14 rules change. Legendary permanents are not going to kill each other. They can actually stand off. So now Shiels has the option of playing a Deathrite Shaman. He can also play a Dark Confidant, but again, he is behind. His back is against the wall here.
That Grim Lavamancer just looks like a total monster on the table, basically able to sharpshoot anybody to death.
And so now Shiels is going to play a Deathrite Shaman. He's representing Swords to Plowshares right now, and various other things for a single white or single black mana. As Duke is going to untap, he's going to draw, and let's see what he finds to navigate this turn.
Reid Duke, certainly one of the players that if you started out this tournament, you would be expecting to be sitting where he is now, which is to say, on the verge of making a possible top 8, on track for it. He still needs to make sure to win this. There's not much breathing room left at 9 and 3. Dave Shiels a little bit higher up with 9, 2, and 1, but both of these players are kind of against the edge of the wall. They might not be over it if they lose, but it's close.
And Matthias and I last round talked a lot about how when we get in the deeper rounds of these tournaments where you're going to be staring off against great players over the course of the tournament, every decision becomes so much more important. Every sideboarding decision, every single turn of every game, mulligan decisions, the pressure is on as we do these last 4 rounds of this tournament. You see the trades in combat there for Shiels. There goes the Stoneforge Mystic, eaten alive by a Tarmogoyf. Dryad Arbor bites the dust via Deathrite Shaman, but 2 counters placed on Umezawa's Jitte. Gonna remove one of them to finish off Deathrite Shaman. And is he gonna do anything else this turn? A Noble Hierarch. And pass the turn back, so no equip, Adrian.
So, 3 mana open, 1 card in hand for Reid Duke. We see Dave Shiels has mana, 5 mana in fact, so he can get to Batterskull now. Will that be sufficient? Is that going to be his play? And if so, will that actually be able to keep him alive?
Yeah. Can Batterskull get the job done by itself? You see a 4/5 Tarmogoyf out there with an Exalted trigger. We're looking at a 5/6. With an Umezawa Jitte equip, we're potentially looking at a 7/8. As there's the Batterskull. Here comes your Germ token, which you could be if you do win a Star City Games Invitational,
right?
But you'd be a lonely 0/0.
There are a lot of people who mention germs as a token that they would want to be. Squirrel also very popular.
Yeah, I'd like to be a squirrel actually. I think
a
that
squirrel
could be
would be
fun.
pretty cool.
So now, as the Batterskull comes into play for Shiels, Duke is going to finish off Shiels' turn on his end step by sacrificing that Misty Rainforest. Going to get a Taiga, put that into play.
I kind of wonder if Reid Duke sideboarded in an Ancient Grudge. Ancient Grudge is a totally reasonable card to bring in against a Stoneforge Mystic deck.
Yeah.
2 damage to the face.
Shields going to go down to 4. Duke quickly untapping, so it feels like he is pretty confident. Going to draw a card here. Quickly going to play a Tropical Island, 4 mana. Chase the Mind Sculptor. That one's pretty good, and that's going to not just bounce the Batterskull, it's going to bounce all of Dave Shiels' permanents as well. As we're going to move on to a 3rd game here between Duke and Shiels. Heck of a match so far, my man.
Absolutely, shuffle them up. So, if you're just joining us, I'm Adrian Sullivan here in the booth with the one and only Cedric Phillips. This is the StarCityGames.com Open Series featuring the Invitational. We are in the Garden State, New Jersey. This is SCG Live. Make sure to follow us at SCG Live. And also, remember, the conversation this whole weekend, hashtag SCGINVI. Now, if you tweet to SCG Live, not only are you going to have Cedric and I seeing that, you're going to have Matthias see it, you're going to see Mox Ruby, that's Ruben Bressler, he'll see it. You know, everybody here will see it, our directors will see it, Glenn Jones will see it, and everyone that is, you know, here this whole weekend, in the SCGINVI, you're going to see people posting their results on there. For example, Drew Levin, he just posted his result of one of his last rounds. So make sure you're following the both hashtag and our at SCG Live and follow the conversation, SCGINVI, so you can get the full experience. Plus, remember as well, there is print coverage going on in addition to the rest of our coverage. So make sure to head over to the StarCityGames.com site so that you can see the print coverage, read the work of Glenn and Ruben, besides listening in on us. There's a lot of coverage here this weekend. We've got a really great crew of people here for you, and we're going to try to bring you as much magic live on camera here on SCG Live.
You see Shiels and Duke doing something I have not seen a lot of over the course of this weekend. You know, sideboarding is an art form.
Yes.
I openly admit I am mediocre at sideboarding at best. You know, I come into tournaments with plans, at least I try to, but adjusting on the fly is one of my weaknesses. You see Duke and Shiels both going back to their sideboard, readjusting things. We have not seen a lot of players go back to their sideboard for the 3rd and final game. Being on the play and being on the draw is a world of difference when you're playing sideboarded Magic. And for each of those players to maybe go back, maybe change some things, or just reassure themselves that yes, I am happy with the configuration that I have for this 3rd game of this pressure match, is a smart thing to do.
Absolutely. Now, there are some people who are just incredible sideboard players. I know one of the people that I usually think of is Gabriel Nassif. Nassif, one of the actual sideboard masters, where you'll watch him play sometimes, and he'll make some small tweak to the deck, whatever it is that he's playing, that it doesn't seem like it's a part of what might be happening in a matchup. And then lo and behold, you know, turn 10 or 11 in game 3, this shocking sideboard card comes in that doesn't seem like it should fit the matchup, and it does wonders. Now, these two players, going back to their sideboards, both I think very comfortable with their deck, Reid Duke a pioneer with no rug a couple of years ago before re-bringing it back to the Legacy arena. And Dave Shiels has been playing Stoneforge Mystic for a long time. I'm sure both of these players have a very good sense of how they want their deck to play, whether it's on the draw or whether they're the one taking turn one first off on the play. And sometimes it makes all the difference. Sometimes there are cards you just don't want to have in your hand if you are, for example, on the draw.
We've talked a lot about deck familiarity this weekend, Adrian. We see Reid Duke playing No Rug, a deck that he's incredibly familiar with. You talk about how Dave Shiels has been casting Stoneforge Mystic for years. He has won a Grand Prix casting that card in Standard. He is very comfortable doing this. Both of these players right in their comfort zones with these decks right here. And we'll see which one of these fantastic Magic players is going to win this match and move on closer to the top of the Invitational. As Shiels is going to start the show, game number 3, Polluted Delta, going to play a Deathrite Shaman and get some mana acceleration right on the table.
Deathrite Shaman, practically ubiquitous now in Legacy. Most often in this deck, but certainly in plenty of other decks as well. Now, if you were to tell people before the release of Deathrite Shaman that it was going to be a huge player in all formats, I think people would have scoffed at you, but it's clearly made the mark. Look at that, turn 1 he kills it, Reid Duke Chain Lightning. Don't keep that Deathrite Shaman around, I don't want to have to deal with that.
Yeah, you got to keep that thing off the table here. That's what Chain Lightning is going to allow Duke to do. Takes care of the Deathrite Shaman, but here's the difficult thing about Shiels' deck. Deathrite Shaman, a must-answer card, you would agree?
I think that's one to kill.
How about Dark Confidant?
I think I want to kill that.
How about Stoneforge Mystic?
I usually want to kill that
Yeah,
one.
so you do a nice job of overloading the removal in decks in Legacy. If you don't take care of Deathrite Shaman, it can do some broken things like powering out a Jace the Mind Sculptor, but that means that you have one less answer for Dark Confidant, your boss. 2 copies of that right now in Shiels' hand, let alone Stoneforge Mystic, which can win the game on its own. We've seen it do that for many years by getting a Batter Skull, putting it into play, and forcing Duke to be able to answer that. That's one of the many things that makes this Esper Deathblade deck so powerful.
Yeah. You know, one of the decks that you don't see very often, the Legacy junk decks do the same style of thing with a Tarmogoyf, Deathrite Shaman, Dark Confidant package. There's just so many things that can happen when you've got that black now having Deathrite and Bob both in the same deck.
Dark Confidant going to show up here for Shiels. Brainstorm for Reid, maybe looking for an answer right away, maybe in one of those lightning bolts which he asked for, perhaps an additional Chain Lightning. He does have a second one of those in his main deck. Let's see if he can find another answer.
There are a bunch of cards there in his hand. Extra 3 cards, he's got to put 2 of them back. What will he do? I think I see a Green Sun Zenith, or it looks like a Taiga's going to go back. I see a Wooded Foothills.
Brainstorm, one of the most difficult cards to resolve in Legacy, arguably the most powerful card in the format, and that's a format that has Force of Will. It's a format that has Jace the Mind Sculptor. It has so many powerful cards. Brainstorm, the one card that kind of ties the room together for a lot of decks, is you're going to see a Scalding Tarn here, get sacrificed here for Duke. He's going to get a Tropical Island. Maybe we will see that Green Sun Zenith that you mentioned, potentially for 0 to get a Dryad Arbor.
You know, a lot of people say when they look at old deck lists, how come people didn't play Brainstorm back in the day? Were you guys just really bad? It was partly that there were no shuffle effects. And, or very hard to find shuffle effects. But in Legacy, right now, the amount of shuffle effects that you can have is immense. Ever since we had our first sack land, that's what we've been dealing with. Oh, wow. A Swords to Plowshares revealed by Dark Confidant. One of the things that can be very powerful for a Dark Confidant player is when there is a mana creature that is around that was just brought out. Killing it is almost like taking a little time walk.
Now you see Shiels did reveal that Source of Plowshares. He's going to take care of the Noble Hierarch. What you did not find, Adrian, is he did not find a 3rd land, so maybe that Deathrite Shaman was very important for him. Maybe he was hoping and banking on Dark Confidant finding him a land, but he does have a follow-up Deathrite Shaman, so doing pretty good for himself. As you see, the rest of his hand is Liliana of the Veil, another Source of Plowshares, another Dark Confidant, and a Vendilion Click as he passes it back to Duke.
One of the things that's kind of interesting is Duke drew his card a little slowly and then looked at it. He has a Bonfire of the Damned in the sideboard. I wonder if he boarded it in.
I think it would be pretty good in this matchup, and again, he can actually set it up quite well via Brainstorm, putting it back. It's kind of strange to see Bonfire of the Damned in the sideboard, let alone in Legacy at all.
Yeah, right?
But it could end up being quite good in this situation, as you see Duke putting Shields to the touch yet again. Here is a Grim Lavamancer, you're going to need an answer for this, or it's going to do a repeat performance of what we saw in game number 2.
I mean, I remember not so long ago Reid Duke playing Blue-White Miracles in Legacy.
Yes.
So he's no stranger to a miraculous Legacy event. We see a Tarmogoyf join the table. Grim Lavamancer, Tarmogoyf, facing off against Dark Confidant and Deathrite Shaman. That is a lot of awesomeness for creatures. We see draw with a land in hand now, a Scrubland drawn, a Brainstorm in hand. That is a lot of good cards for Dave Shiels.
Yeah, now is where we're going to see Shiels get a little bit more deliberate, Adrian, because now the decision-making process is here. He's got a Deathrite Shaman he can use for mana. He drew a Scrubland, so he has access to 4 mana over the course of this turn. How does he want to navigate? Does he want to just kill the creatures? He's got a Liliana in the Veil and a Swords of Plowshares that can get things out of the way. Does he want to maybe set up a turn with a Vendilion Click? It looks like he's going to go with the Planeswalker.
Let's Edict you, and then, or maybe Swords first with the Deathrite Shaman. Like Swords the Grim Lavamancer, and then Edict afterwards.
Yeah, prevent a heavy life gain from the Tarmogoyf, since it is a 3/4 right now. I could see that being what Shiels wants to do this turn. Again, he's just trying to continue to press his advantage, because now that he's at a land drop, he can move further and further ahead. He can create a very difficult board presence, but you do mention Bonfire of the Dam could be looming in Duke's deck somewhere, and a Miracle wouldn't be so bad in the following turn.
I think there was a question of how big is the Tarmogoyf. 4 or 5. We're going to see removal of a Misty Rainforest or a Scalding Tarn. There it is. Swords to Plowshares about to hit Grim Lavamancer.
Yep.
Boom. Gain 1 life. And -2 for Liliana of the Veil, creating an Edict effect. In with Dark Confidant. Bob hits for 2.
Beautiful order of operations here by Shiels. Again, we talked about it. We're going to talk about it over the course of this weekend again and again and again. Deck familiarity. You see how at home he is here. You know, he takes his time with his decisions. He's playing everything out in arguably the correct order. And he's just very comfortable with everything that he's doing here. Not to say that Duke isn't, but, you know, just the power level of Shiels' deck and being able to play all these spells in the right order, it makes it so difficult to lose with a deck like Esper Deathblade.
Reid Duke returns more creatures to the table. He's got a Green Sun Zenith for 0, getting a Dryad Arbor, a Tarmogoyf. The Tarmogoyf is currently a 4/5. And facing off against Liliana, Dark Confidant, and Deathrite Shaman. Liliana only at 1, so it's going to have to go up before it can go down. But new Legend rule, new Planeswalker rule.
Yes.
We see Liliana revealed. If Dave doesn't want to discard anything, which maybe he doesn't, I'm not saying that that's the case, but he does not even have to discard anything. He can just drop the new Liliana into play and Edict. Or if he chooses, he could have both players discard and drop the new Liliana into play, replace the old one, and Edict. Just one of the possibilities that is open to him now that M14 has changed the rules.
And I think that play that you mentioned, that second one with the Liliana discard, play the fresh one, discard again, I think that's incredibly enticing right now for Shiels, because Duke does have 2 cards in his hand, and the way that Duke is navigating this game, it feels like to me, and we're not sure because we haven't had a good look at Duke's hand, that he has a natural order that's kind of hanging out over there in his hand. Now, natural order not at its best right now because of Liliana of the Veil, but it feels that way, that he might have one in his hand that he's trying to set up. So Shiels is going to say, Liliana, let's go up. I'll discard a Confidant. Duke says, I'll discard a Ponder.
Only 1 card in hand, one of the other options. He can also lay a Liliana in play and +1 again. Also, I don't know if what he kept. Does he have a Vendilion Click in hand still?
He does still have a Vendilion Click in his hand that he can cast. You see, like, it feels like he may want to have that be his play. He has access to 4 mana right now, 3 of the lands, 1 from the Deathrite Shaman, so he can do something as fun as Vendilion Click you and then play a Brainstorm, as he's going to let Duke untap. Looks like he's gonna let him draw and get in there with the Vendilion Click yet again, something we've seen a lot here over the course of the match from Shiels.
And did you see that again, his draw? He did the definitely check for the miracle draw.
So, Jace the Mind Sculptor and a Forest left in Shiels' hand. Pretty easy play here for Shiels. Gonna put Jace to the bottom. Duke is gonna draw a card, left for the Forest, and a mystery card.
If it's a natural order, that would be an amazing play right here. However, again, Lily for sacrifice, follow-up Lily, that would take care of a potential natural ordered Progenitus.
Duke reaching with Tarmogoyf, going to attack something here, either Shiels face or Liliana the Veil. We'll find out for you momentarily.
Now remember, Reid Duke does know that Dave Shiels had another Liliana a moment ago. So there was a brainstorm in the middle there, but regardless, he knows that there was a Liliana of the Veil in the mix for Dave Shiels' hand. And we've got confirmation from the table, the Tarmogoyf is attacking Liliana.
So let's see how Shiels wants to play this one. Does he want to chump block? Is he okay with letting his Liliana go, knowing that he does have another one in his hand? Is it time for a potential double or triple block to get that Tarmogoyf off of the board? Or is he happy just cashing in his Deathrite Shaman, blocking there, removing a land, casting a Brainstorm, getting a little deeper into his deck, getting a little bit more information? What exactly does he want to do about this Tarmogoyf? Again, Adrian, because he is in the driver's seat, he just has to use these resources correctly to be able to move on and defeat Reid Duke here.
Looking at the play, there's a lot of options, but behind him, I see that there's a Gruul Mage, the only two colors that Dave Shiels not using.
Yes.
Looking on, wondering what exactly Dave's doing. How does that stuff work?
Yeah, what are these blue, black, and white cards, and why would you play them when you can play fire and animals?
Arr. Well, now, what would you do here, Cedric? Would you chump block it or let your Lily go?
You know, I think I would let my Liliana go. I think the 3 cards that I have in play are so powerful, they're so impressive, and I have a backup Liliana that I'm happy with that. As you see, Dark Confidence going to turn over an Underground Sea. Shields going to draw a Stoneforge Mystic. Shields let his Liliana go there, and you know, it's not saying that that's 100% correct. I feel like that's just what I would want to do because my cards are so powerful, and I don't feel the need to chump block a Tarmogoyf. If I'm going to get in front of it, I want to get it dead. So Shiels is going to play his turn here. Again, we know about the Underground Sea, as does Duke. There's a Stoneforge Mystic. So maybe it's Umezawa's Jitte time. He does have 2 mana. He does have a land in his hand for number 3. Deathrite Shaman would make it the sweet spot of 4. So he could play a Jitte, equip, and put some counters on it perhaps here.
I'm actually also curious if a Sword of Feast and Famine was boarded in.
Yeah.
It's not an unreasonable choice. It's not an automatic choice, I don't believe, but it's a reasonable thing to consider.
You see Shiels has brought Batterskull to the forefront, but he's still searching through his deck. Now he's brought Umezawa's Jitte to the forefront as well, and it is going to be the Jitte. It will be the legendary equipment from Kamigawa block. So it looks like maybe it's time to suit up and get some counters on that bad boy.
A land in hand and a Deathrite Shaman means he will be able to cast and equip the Umezawa's Jitte right now, should he wish to.
All right, Deathrite Shaman may be activating here to provide Shields a mana. Gonna play the land first in Underground Sea. He's actually just gonna go with Liliana of the Veil. A little bit surprising of a play there. I would have expected to see him play that Umezawa's Jitte, but he's going to leave the Jitte in his hand. He's got the Brainstorm still at the ready, and Liliana's going to maybe tick down, maybe tick up. Going to play a Deathrite Shaman activation, removing a land. He's going to Brainstorm.
I think he's going to put a piece of garbage in his hand to discard.
Okay, gotcha.
That's the swords in hand.
Problem here is that most of those cards, they're all really, really
Yeah,
good.
it's true. It looks like keeps the Jitte in hand, keeps a Bayou. The Bayou, I expect, will be discarded. A Swords to Plowshares on top, and a Stoneforge Mystic right below it.
Yep.
Discard. I'll get rid of this Bayou. What are you getting rid of? This Tropical.
Now, Adrian, we have harped on this point just a little bit here during this game. The way that Reid Duke has been drawing his card leads us to believe that he has Bonfire the Damned in his deck. And if he miracles one, it would be for 4 right now. Does he have it? It does not look to be the case. But now, hands through hair for Duke.
You know, you can look at somebody like Duke doing this and say to yourself, there's somebody in trouble. But it doesn't necessarily mean that that's the case. You know, a lot of people have various different reactions to all kinds of draws. We get a chump block from Stoneforge Mystic.
Yep. And Duke can only pass the turn back. So now Shields is going to untap. He's going to draw Swords to Plowshares. off of Dark Confidant.
Ouch.
Duke, ever the consummate professional, reminding Shiels, don't forget that trigger, my friend. Don't want to win one that way. As Shiels now has Stoneforge Mystic, Swords to Plowshares, and Umezawa's Jitte in his hand. Looks like he may start by ticking up.
What's he gonna discard?
I think he's more than happy to discard the Stoneforge Mystic. It doesn't matter very much anymore at this point. He doesn't need Batterskull to win this game. Swords to Plowshare gives him some defense against some things, and then Umezawa's Jitte makes it so that his draw is very good. There is a Lightning Bolt to take care of the Vendilion Click. There's a discarding of the Stoneforge. Now here comes your equipment.
I think we're going to see this go on to the Deathrite Shaman. Umezawa's Jitte equipped by the Deathrite Shaman. Deathrite marches in. Reid Duke takes one.
And now that Bonfire of the Damn Miracle that Duke was looking for, significantly worse now, Adrian.
Swords to Plowshares to wrap up the Tarmogoyf. Reid Duke empty-handed, no creatures in play, and a Liliana Dark Confidant in play, not to mention the Umezawa's Jitte on a creature there, and not just any creature, a Deathrite Shaman. Things very grim right now for Reid Duke. Jace?
4 mana, yeah, I was thinking that would be the card that he could draw. It's going to be a Green Sun Zenith for 3. He chooses 3. He does have Tarmogoyf in his deck. Looking through his sideboard, he does have 2 copies of Kitchen Finks, and that's actually what he's going to go get. So the 3/2 Oof is going to gain him a little bit of life. It's going to give him Persist Creature to kind of get in the way, but he's still got a lot of problems here. Dark Confidant, Revealing Dark Confidant being one of them.
Well, I mean, he will have a Kitchen Finks be able to survive one of the ways it'll be killed. So it'll take 2 ways to kill it.
Yep.
But with a Liliana of the Veil and an Umezawa's Jitte in play, Dave Shiels has that. It will cost him a little tiny bit of resources, but not very much.
Yeah, if he wants to clear that Kitchen Finks out of the way, he can do that. Keep pressing his advantage, keep attacking. And I would be a little bit surprised if that's not the play that he makes, but, you know, how does he want to use Liliana in the situation? Because now he's getting close to threatening the ultimate, and that's a real thing right now as well.
And we see
now he's going reaching for the tar pit.
He's really decided that this is the time to just finish him.
Yeah, it really feels like he's looking to put the pedal to the metal this game. Wants to get it over, cut Duke's draw steps, give him no opportunity to win here. So he's going to start by attacking with the tar pit and the Deathrite Shaman that's carrying an equipment. Maybe even Dark Confidant since he has a replacement one, Adrian?
He says that's the case. You might say to yourself, why on earth would you allow your Dark Confidant to die? It's getting you such card advantage. Well, he's got another one, but putting both Dark Confidants into play actually could risk his own death.
Yep.
Bob is a good boss, but you know what? He hurts you sometimes.
You know, it is unlikely that, you know, that could happen, but, you know, he wants to make it so the Shields that in a ridiculous series of events does not take place. That's what he wants to, make sure it does not occur. So you see damage is going to be dealt. After the dust settles, we'll figure out what our life totals are at here as Liliana is going upstairs.
Oh, wow.
He wants to threaten that ultimate. That's exactly what Shields looks like he wants to do. He's happy to discard a Marsh Flats or a Dark Confidant here. That's exactly what's going to happen. He's going to leave himself with that Marsh Flats, and he's going to finish off that Kitchen Finks. It'll persist.
Wow. Oh, a
looks like it's
bonfire
gonna die
would be
for
exciting
good.
now.
So, Shields going to pass the turn back. Duke quickly draws his card. There's a Jace the Mind Sculptor.
Wow.
So
Scratching his head.
How does this change things for Reid Duke?
Well, he's got a bunch of options. One of them is to bounce the Dark Confidant. Another is to do the Brainstorm ability here, which he's doing. And it looks like, I think we're going to see him put something bad into his hand, or a land into play, and then put something good on top.
Yep. So Wooded Foothills will come in. Shield's going to reveal a Flooded Strand, draws a Wasteland. Duke at 14, Shields at 10.
should Dave choose to, he can attack both these creatures into the Jace and finish it off.
Yeah, also, Tar Pit can get the job done on that as well.
There we go.
Again, as you said, if he deems that necessary.
Yeah.
So you see a Tar Pit activation here. The 3/2 unblockable man land at the ready. Fantastic card of taking care of Jace the Mind Sculptor, which it's been doing for many a year. Dark Confidant and Deathrite Shaman going to get into the red zone towards Duke's face. There goes that Jace. 2 counters on the equipment. And is it time for a Liliana Ultimate, you think, Adrian?
You know, I would pump it up one more before I would do that yet.
Okay.
He moves the Jitte.
Shiels does agree with you.
Discard a land.
Just so that you could have it afterward.
Yeah, exactly. Losing -6 on the Lily. I want to keep Lily around. She's doing some work. And Lily and Bob make a great pair.
Yeah. So Shiels sitting at 10 life. Counters on that counters on that Umezawa's Jitte. Shiels asking how much time is left in the round. He's happy with the answer. Gives it a thumbs up. Is going to pass the turn back to Reid Duke. And I'd be happy too, given his board position and what's transpiring this game.
I want this to be a bonfire so bad. No!
Just going to pass the turn back. Shields going to reveal for Dark Confidant. It's a Thoughtseize. We'll probably be able to find out what Duke drew this turn. Draws a card. Batterskull added as well now.
You look at the clock, it has been updated. Players that are in the feature match area are not penalized for the time it takes them to get set up, and one of the things, we want to make sure you see everything. So oftentimes their clock is a little bit different than the rest of the clock. Yeah. We're at 6.5 minutes left. Plenty of time, says Dave Shiels.
Yeah. As deliberate as Shiels can be, his pacing this game has been perfectly reasonable, and additionally, he's coming out with all of the right decisions, it looks like. You can see why he takes his time with a deck like this. There are a lot of decisions when playing Esper Deathblade, and if you do get them right, it is so very hard to lose.
And the shuffle from the fetch. Start with a Brainstorm. Now, Reid Duke did know what the next card was. Is that another Jace?
Yeah. Brainstorm among those cards as well right now, it looks like. But again, Duke having some difficulty getting out of the situation. Can a Brainstorm save him from the amazing board position that Dave Shiels has crafted over the course of this game?
I mean, one of the problems he has is Dave Shiels can do 10 damage next turn.
Yep. Duke puts 2 cards back, keeps a Brainstorm, gonna cast another Brainstorm. He's got a mana. He's gonna play Lightning Bolt to take care of the Deathrite Shaman. Shields gonna activate this, remove. He says any card's fine with me. There goes a Lightning Bolt. Duke gonna go down to 8.
And that should do it on the attack step.
I think that may finish it off. So now here's Creeping Tar Pit, here comes Dark Confidant, pump and pump, and that is the game. So Dave Shiels is going to win this match over Reid Duke. Esper Deathblade defeating Natural Order Rug. Dave Shield, your top 8 dreams are still alive. Moving on to 10-2-1. Reid Duke takes his 4th loss of the tournament. His top 8 dreams, Adrian, may very well